I want to thank all of you for your openness to learn some distinctiveness about our church, our denomination. So for the last several Sundays, I have spoken on different themes that matter to us as United Methodists. And I have not in any way try to convince you in saying that we are the best Protestant mainline denomination in the world, right? I've never said that, right? And so because that is not the intent. Intent is each of us, either biological family, for example, we have our own uniqueness, right? And we need to be proud of our uniqueness. For example, I've told you that I have 9 siblings. One just passed away, so there's still 8 of us. And since we grew up in a very British educational system, my siblings were sent to boarding schools at different schools. They were not all in the same school system. And they were scattered all over India. And so when we came for holidays, especially Christmas, Christmas is a month-long vacation for us. And we would have in the evenings campfire outside the kitchen. And we will sit around and we will sing gospel, movie songs, Beatles, Creedence Clearwater Revival, sing Hey Jude, kind of stuff. We will all, and most of our siblings can play guitar, and so we pass the guitars around and we sing. And then these siblings who are away from home, they go to movies. Those of us who stayed home, my mother, being a good American Baptist, didn't allow us to see movies. But my siblings who were outside, they saw movies. And they will try to tell us what they saw and what was interesting about. And so when 9 of us, we sit together and we talk. We use 5 different languages simultaneously. Because some things are better told in Hindi, some things are better told in English, and some other languages. And we don't pause for a second. Our brain just works simultaneously, ping, 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 ping. And when Helena would be with us, she would go, now what language is that one? So that's the uniqueness about my family. Our family is not the best in the world. It's not the best role model in the world. But beneath, there was some tremendous beauty and love. And so that's the uniqueness. And so even with our denomination as a United Methodist, we have problems like any family does. We have issues. They're both theological and historical and whatnot, because we are a global denomination. There are 11 millions of us, 12 millions of us, and so there is tremendous diversity. Even though the numbers in the United States are shrinking, United Methodist growth is in Asia, exponentially growing in Asia, and exponentially growing in Africa. Right? Those are the growth areas. And so when 11, 12 millions of us try to figure out how to believe what we believe, how to understand what we understand, there's going to be a problem, right? And not all problems are necessarily negative, but problems can be positive as long as you don't walk out the door, right? As long as we sit around the table and we are willing to discuss even the most painful because we love one another. That's the better way of approaching any issues we might have, right? And so I've been trying to somehow invest in you to try to have some understanding about our distinctiveness. So the first Sunday, I preached about prevenient grace. That's a beautiful word. Grace that is available to any one of us. We are not necessarily all fully disposed to be perished without any hope. Even when we have no clue or any sense of understanding about faith in God, God still works within us, enabling us to have some level of understanding about who we are. It's almost like planting a seed and allowing that seed to grow. Prevenient grace. Then I spoke about means of grace. There are things that we do as Christians and as United Methodists, and we do it not with meaninglessness, but with a sense of purpose, a ritual that we practice, like baptism and sacraments, the Holy Communion. We do it so that somehow we are awakened in the presence of God, and those sacraments brings us closer unto God and to one another. So that was means of grace, right? And last Sunday I spoke about justifying grace. Our whole theology is established, structured upon God's forgiveness, salvation, right? The salvific work of Christ, and somehow that grace of God tells us you're forgiven, you can restart all over. And God does not count how many start over you have, right? We are in some ways like members of the A group, right? Alcoholics Anonymous, right? We come, we go, but because there is love, we come back, right? It's one of those things. Justifying grace. Grace that helps us to bloom. Today we're going to talk about sanctifying grace. Sanctifying grace. Now, Greek language is very unique for English. English is very, what should I say? It's not a very classical language. Greek and Hebrew, you read something, you see a word, that's power. Power. Power, there is no other way to describe in English but power. But in Greek, there are multiple ways of looking at the word power, right? Like dunamis, remember I talked about in Pentecost, or exousia, These are some of the Greek words that describes the word power. So, in Greek word, when you have some infraction with an object, you hit an object, you hit once, but you can feel it. The feeling does not stay here, right? Feeling goes all the way up, right? Sometimes if it is too painful, you have some adjectives that might come out of your mouth, right? Because it is painful. And your brain is telling you what you just kicked was painful. Or you just fell down and it is not good. Your hip is out, right? And that pain, that killer pain, goes all the way to the brain and tells the whole body you are in pain. Salvation, in the Greek understanding, it's a one-time event, right? I believe. That is just one time I come to Jesus moment. But we do not stop there, right? We do not stop right there where we found Jesus. But we just made a commitment that we will grow unto perfection under God's grace and holiness. Right? For some of us, it takes a lifetime to figure out what it is. Right? Because we have to grow in grace and in the knowledge of God. Deeply rooted and grounded in the Word and blooming where God has planted you. Right? And sometimes blooming where you're planted is not easy. If it is not watered, it's not cared for. Even the best plan that can possibly look like this cannot be realized. Right? And so everything has to be taken care of. And so it just seems like Jesus already had some premonition about what we as a church will go through in life. Even in our own biological family, if the relationships are not nurtured and cared, they become rusty and corroded. Right? Love lost. Or friendships, deep friendships that we have. If it is not taken care of, it becomes rusty. It becomes corroded. Because there are things in the air that will make the best things rusty, unusable. In India, we have this water pump. If they are not maintained, they become rusty, corroded, and then doesn't matter how long you have been pumping, nothing will come. And sometimes our lives are like that. And so Jesus tells this wonderful story in John 15. The vine and the branches. Branch, we are branch. We cannot live on our own. We cannot produce and be productive if we are not connected to the vine. Without vine, we are dead. Without the vine, we cannot produce a single grape. And so Jesus is saying to the listeners, if you want to be productive, because life has to be productive, no matter what you do, what you pursue in life has to be productive in some fashion. But if you are not joined to the vine, you cannot produce. Interesting thing is, Jesus adds another twist to the story. And Jesus said, but my Father is the farmer. And at times, my Father comes with the little clippers and clips them away so that you can even produce even more. You might just be a bumper crop. Think about that. Because God is just clipping away the twigs or whatever that is sucking away the energies that will not produce anymore. Right? Clipping away. And at times, my Father, the farmer, comes with a big thing and then chops away so that the vine is a healthy vine that produces more. And so Jesus was very nice at explaining how each of us can be fruitful. Because life is meant to be that. You know. Now, if you ask the vine growers, since we are not too far from Temecula, if you ask the vine grower, what is the practices for better crops, for better wine, whether it's Merlot or Chardonnay or Pinot Grigio or whatever, right? They say, in order for the vine to grow healthier for the next season, you have to prune the vine 90%. 90%, so that the vine next time around can be healthier and can produce even more than last season. There are things in your life and in my life that is holding us back from growing, producing, right? I've been pondering about having a garage sale so that I can get rid of stuff. Garage is meant for cars, but my garage is filled with stuff. We complicate our lives and we get drowned. Clutters in our lives somehow holds us back from seeing what needs to be seen. Does it make sense? There's so much clutter in our life, we have basically normalized our lives. But let's not stop there. How about church? There are things that we do in church that keeps us so darn busy about anything, everything, but nothing gives us any meaningful growth and change. Old things, yesterday things, holds us back from seeing what the future is, what God promises us to realize. Does that make sense? We are so buried deep into the tradition of the church, or things that we have been doing, but nobody knows why. Why are we doing what we are doing? Nobody's questioning because we don't want to upset somebody. Right? That happens in church all the time. We are doing this because somebody did this, and so we do it. Is it helping this church to grow, change, have more grapes? No. But we don't want to upset anybody, and so we do it. Ooh. That's pretty close to all of us, right? Yeah. So Jesus is giving this wonderful visual illustration about life, about ministry. How do we, as people of God, produce? Produce here is not so much about, coming to church with Sunday best and nice big hats and, earring dangling from your ears and, whatever. But Apostle Paul in Galatians talks about love, joy, peace, goodness. Remember that fruit of the Spirit? It is there because that is what maturity in faith is about. Something goodness, patience, kindness, charity, long-suffering. It all has to be part of our spiritual formation. Something has to show to the world, this is who I am. Not because what I do, but because God works within my inner being to reflect God's beauty and grace. Huh? Right? Does it make sense? Yeah. When my oldest one was born, most Asian kids have jaundice issue. And so we brought her home for a day or two, and then we had to take her back to the hospital. And then she was in the incubator for several days, waiting for the bilirubin to increase in her body. We as parents, and there are some nice nurses here to tell us what it is. If her child is in trouble, if our child shows no change and growth, we will be going crazy, right? Because we as parents, we want our child to be healthy and strong and growing. If it is not, we run to the pediatrician and even find a specialist and tell us what we can do so that this child fits the chart that is in the pediatric office, right? If there is something growth issue, then we have to find the best specialist there is. I think If you and I are stagnant, spiritually speaking, relationally speaking, if there is something wrong, then we need to find ways to correct that. Right? We need to find ways to correct that. And this is where, this is where the topic comes in, sanctifying grace. We need to allow this grace of God to come alive within us so that we become a fruitful branch, well connected to the vine, so that the vine is feeding the branch, and the branch is producing healthy fruit, healthy grape. That is how Jesus sees our spirituality, our family connectedness. And so, sisters and brothers, don't be too comfortable where you're at. We can all grow deeper and wider, not physically, but I think we have that call of God. And so, worship is one of them, but don't let this worship be the only. Find ways to grow spiritually at home. Prayer life is a good thing to have. Your own self-Bible study, or join a Bible study, or form another Bible study. If you come with some excitement to do something, I will never ever say no. I am a very permission-giving pastor. If you have something that you really want to do, I will empower you and resource you to the best you can be. So, study the scripture in your own time. Reading, meditation, Bible study. Have a fellowship, have a coffee fellowship with somebody. What are some new ways of expressing your faith? We don't all have to go out and hit people with your Bible. But show love, show friendship. That is how we will grow in grace and in the knowledge of God. That is how ministries are inspired. Instead of constantly cursing the darkness, let's do something positive. Don't have to be big. Maybe start something small. And so, think about it. If you like to have a prayer group, if you would just want to come some morning and want to pray here, let me know. I'll be with you. We'll pray. I know there are a number of you who loves to come to Thursday Bible study. But if there are some other folks, other than the Thursday group, want to do something different on some weekdays, morning, afternoon, maybe we can come with a brown bag and sit together and talk. If you want to do that, let me know. I'll help you. We don't have to just be Sunday happy people. We can do other things and be even happier. Does that make sense? Okay, that's about it. So may God bless us with His words and help us to grow each single day and be the vine, be the branch that is well connected to the branch, so that our love continues to grow and serve the Lord in the best way we know how.
you.